Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to talk with you this morning about some misconceptions that I see out there and share my perspective on the truth about this. So the first main conception I want to deal with is that everyone in history who ever watched a specific time for the rapture uh, was incorrect. Not only were they incorrect, they were in delusion to even do such. And I just want to say that this is completely false. And that's because throughout history, people have known, no doubt, what I know now, that Jesus died approximately somewhere in 30 through 34 AD, and that he will come to earth 2,000 years after that. This is a fact that people could have known throughout Christian history and did in fact know. And that means they were watching a specific time, albeit not a specific day and hour, but a specific time for the coming of Jesus. And these people were correct throughout Christian history, as we are correct today. Now, of course, I have to hasten to add that those people who predicted a specific day and hour long ago, maybe 100 years ago, or back in 1988, for example, 88 Reasons Why 1988 Will See the Rapture, right? That was a famous book and movement that came out. They were bad wrong. They were far off, obviously. And I can't say that they were led of God to do that, right? Um, if your watch is badly off, it indicates that maybe you shouldn't have been doing that. And of course, it's understandable why people would say about me and about others who are watching with Joshua for the rapture that we're bad off, that we're wrong. So I can sympathize with that. But at the same time, I just want to address the fact that, date watching has been a valid thing. And not date watching per se, but specific time watching has been a valid thing throughout Christian history. And people have been right for a long time. And in fact, I was one such person who back in 2011 realized that Jesus will probably come around 2023. And since 2011, I really believed that it would be around 2023 that Jesus would come. And I still believe I was essentially correct. It was an approximate understanding, and I was approximately right. And it kind of guided my thinking, my hope, from 2011 onward. So I'm really thankful for that knowledge back then. And since 2011, I've always been watching a specific time for the rapture. So that's a really been a good experience. It's caused me to live in bright hope, very specific hope in Jesus coming. And I really am thankful for that. And so I also want to address the concept that if you watch a specific day or time for the rapture and then it passes, then the whole experience was a failure. This is a common conception that your date failed, right? Is what people will say. And I don't see it like that at all, because of course this could be the case. If we just watch some random day and then it doesn't happen, then the whole experience was a wash, right? But that's not what I believe we should be doing. What we should be doing is seeking God on the issue of what to watch for his coming. And the thing is, he's going to provide us evidence. He's going to provide us clues, and he's going to impress us about what to watch. Jesus is going to tell us personally, I want you to watch this particular day for the rapture of the church. And when you get that information from God himself personally, then it becomes very exciting, and you're having an interaction with God. And he's giving you a particular day to watch for a good reason, right? And oftentimes what happens is, as you come closer and closer, you find an incredible cloud of witnesses for why this really could be it. And your expectation gets super high and you get super excited, but you understand what's happening. What's happening is Jesus is giving you an experience over time of watching for his return. And this experience is what is very important, not particularly the concept that we would know the rapture well ahead of time. Jesus, I don't think, is worried that we understand what particular day exactly is the day of the rapture long beforehand. he does want to reveal that before he comes, but we don't know when he's going to reveal that. And what we get excited about is that by telling us to watch a particular day, Jesus is actually telling us the day. But of course, it may not be the case. He may just be giving us another stepping stone, another signpost in our experience of watching, which is usually the case. Nevertheless, what's rewarding about this is when Jesus gives you a date to watch and you watch it, but it turns out not to be the day of the rapture, what you find is a whole number of confirmations that you should be watching that day and that day really could be it. And these confirmations are from God, and you basically get proof that you did hear from God and that really was the day he had pointed to. And so people will say, oh, well, confirmations mean nothing because people get all these confirmations from the Lord, they think, and then the day is not the rapture. No, just because the day is not the rapture does not mean that the confirmations were not from the Lord and that they were not supposed to watch that day. Yes, they were, potentially. Now, this is not always the case. Some people just go along through this experience leaving the Lord out of it, and that's not okay. And they will never find the day of the rapture if they do that. This is about following the Lord personally through a series of his watches until we get to the point where he gives us the actual day. And we don't know when he's going to give us the actual day. We're not going to know that we know ahead of time, but what we are going to do is we're going to expect ahead of time the correct day, just like we expect other days that don't turn out to be the actual day. So if you go through a Watchman experience, a watch date experience over a period of time with the Lord, letting him lead you, then it's going to be a very rewarding experience the whole time. And no watch date will fail. And I've been experiencing this at least since the beginning of 2024, maybe actually probably late 2023. Almost every watch I've had has been like this. It's been just jam-packed with confirmations that I should be watching that day. And it's not like I get these every few weeks like I have been doing recently. My history with watching is I watched basically 2023 since 2011. And then I narrowed that expectation down to the fall of 2023. And getting up to that point was very exciting. And yet it passed, which was very disappointing. But at the same time, I continued on to understand new things, and ultimately came down to the fall of 2024 as a very, very high watch. Now that passed, but did it really pass? And I actually wrote a whole book, a booklet anyway, about the fall of 2024 and what it meant and where we are now. So I'm in kind of a bigger theory of what's going on right now as God's been leading, and I call it the delay theory. And so it's very exciting. But in 2025, the first big watch of 2025 was January 11. And that was actually the last watch I had until, surprisingly, I came to watch September 23 through 24. Wasn't really expecting to. I was looking most of 2025 forward to 2026. But God changed my mind completely. And I started to watch with Joshua in August of 2025. So basically, I went a long time without a watch day, and that's okay. Before that, I had had more frequent watch days, but they weren't as frequent as they are right now. Right now, it's like every few weeks, there's an incredible watch day, it seems like. We've had quite a few in a short amount of time, and that's unusual for me. But nevertheless, it's however God leads. It's not about what I want. It's not about what I plan or my agenda. It's about what God shows me to watch next. And I'm going to keep doing it that way because it's a very rewarding experience the whole time. It's not all about finding the day of the rapture. If it was, of course, we would get more and more disappointed, and we would have more and more evidence that we're just wrong, and we don't know what we're doing, and we're just guessing. But the truth is, we are not guessing. And we actually see more and more proof over time that we actually do hear the voice of the Lord who shows us what to watch. And we watch it correctly. And there turns out to be all kinds of proofs that, yes, we should have watched that. And then these signposts, these waymarks that we pass that weren't the day of the rapture like we had hoped, but they were a God watch, as I like to call it. These signposts end up becoming a structure that God uses to point forward to future, either signposts or possibly the day of the rapture. So I'm totally sold on this experience. I would love to see everybody have it. It's not generally advisable in the Christian church, of course, and that's fine because it means that only people who are studying the Bible for themselves and can discover there that we are actually supposed to know the specific time of the rapture ahead of time and that we are supposed to be watching in this way, only people like that are going to have this experience, which is great because this is about following the Lord. This is not about following what is generally advisable in the Christian church at large. All kinds of things are generally advisable, but are not the way we should live. Because, following the Lord is not necessarily going to look like the most popular thing to do, obviously. So, yeah, only people who are really dialed in on what God wants them to do are going to be doing this. And so it's so great to know all of you who are involved in this as well, who can look below the surface and kind of see what's really going on, what we really should be doing, and can appreciate this. It's amazing to see how many people appreciate this, that I'm not alone. Now, in my physical life here where I live, I'm pretty alone. Almost nobody that I know in real life watches this way and lives the way I do. But that's okay. We're a rare breed, but we're very special people who are going to discover ahead of time the specific time of the rapture. And this is because we're listening close, and we should be. Okay, one more thing I want to address here is the common misconception that we should really just be watching every day for the rapture, that's the true wisdom. And what I would say to that is a great idea. However, it's impossible. Nobody actually watches every day. If you think every day is a watch day, you actually end up living as if no day is a watch day. Every day is just another day. And so I really don't believe anybody actually gets excited about every day and actually gets disappointed if that day passes without the rapture. Of course, some people just live disappointed in their life all the time, that they have to live another day, and that's not what we should do either. So this is why it's so important to have particular dates to watch that God gave us, because it's just impossible to keep up a true state of anticipation every single day. And it's just way more psychological burden to do so. I also want to address the concept that, you just experienced so many disappointments, this must be a real downer. And the thing is, we don't watch every 2 weeks necessarily. In general, that's not been my experience. The watch dates don't come every few days or few weeks. They come a little bit less often than that. So what ends up happening is you spend most of your time highly anticipating a specific day. And this is very bright hope. This is very specific hope. It's exciting. You know God has told you what to watch. You're having an interaction with him. It's a great experience. And so that's the way you spend most of your life as you're a watchman like this. And yes, there are days that are disappointing where you're like, wow, I really thought that was it. It's just sad that it's not. And you feel a bit down about that. But, as quickly that sensation goes away when God comes into your life at that point and says, hey, look, I have something new for you to look forward to. And since it's God telling you that, you know it's the right thing to look forward to, no matter what happens, right? So you get excited that God is here again to show me something new and to show me new reasons and new things in Scripture. And, it's going to be quite the experience. And you get excited again, right? And for me, it doesn't take long before I have that switch from disappointment to bright hope again. And so the vast majority of my life as a watchman is lived in bright hope for a specific point in time in my near future. And that's the way I would have it anyway. This is something this is a way of living that I want to live. There's nothing discouraging about this, okay? And it doesn't have to be that way, of course. When you don't have God in your experience, it's going to be a real downer, I'm sure. But I just don't experience it that way because God is the one leading this.